Every Friday morning, we go in depth with our Target 12 investigators, and Steph Machado is here this week to talk about Rhode Island's brand new cannabis law. Steph, you've been covering this policy debate about marijuana for years now. So first of all, give us a rundown of what is legal now and what isn't, because it's not all taking place at one time.
Absolutely, because there are restrictions on what you can and cannot do with cannabis, and of course how much of it you can have. So you can have now up to an ounce of cannabis in your possession in public and up to 10 ounces at home. You can grow plants at home, up to 6 total, 3 of which can be mature. You can give cannabis away to a friend for free, but you cannot sell it and you cannot possess above those limits, or you'll still be in violation of the law. And you also cannot do any of these things if you are under 21 years old.
All right, one thing we do know, retail sales are not expected to start in Rhode Island until early December. So can Rhode Islanders go over the border, buy it in Massachusetts, and then bring cannabis back here with our law change?
So technically no, because transporting cannabis over state lines is still in violation of federal law. So even though it's perfectly legal to buy it in Massachusetts and perfectly legal as of this week to possess it in Rhode Island, it's the transporting over the border that's the issue. And now listen, this is not something that's been enforced. Certainly many proponents of legalization have pointed out that if you go to the dispensary in Fall River, the parking lot is full of Rhode Island license plates. There are billboards in Providence for Massachusetts stores, and that was a big reason why folks said it was time to reap some of the tax revenue here if our residents already have easy access to it. But we really are in this gray area where it is legal to possess this substance and to grow it yourself in Rhode Island, but many people might not have a legal avenue to obtain it at this time before sales begin in stores.
All right, so how much money are we talking about here? How much is the sale of cannabis expected to bring into Rhode Island, and then what would that revenue be spent on?
There's a little bit of a complicated question because the most recent calculation by fiscal staff at the State House is on the original House and Senate compromise from March. So it's a little outdated as the bill was amended this month before passage. But at that time, they calculated that in the first full fiscal year of sales, the state would make about $14 million in taxes in those sales at the private retailers, plus $2.5 million to towns and cities from the 3% local tax on those sales. The program would cost $5 million to administer, though, so that would come out of that tax revenue. But this money's not going to be realized right away. There are a lot of startup costs for the state, including hiring about 24 new state workers to regulate this industry, and sales are expected to start in December in the middle of a fiscal year. So not as much tax revenue for that first budget. That's why Governor McKee earlier this week said he didn't have any suggestions yet for how to spend the tax revenue from cannabis. Take a listen.
First of all, we've got to make sure that we get on the on the profit side of it. So let's take one step at a time. We're going to put it in place, and then we're going to see what type of revenue it can generate.
All right, so definitely tempering some of the expectations there.
Exactly.
Steph, thanks so much for sorting all of this out. You can read Steph's full report right now on this new law at WPRI.com.